All right. Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And today is our monthly coaching moments with Ryan DeApril. Now, if you're not familiar with Ryan or if you're new to the show, Ryan comes on every single month to provide our listeners and our viewers a coaching moment and a coaching session. So let me tell you a little bit about Ryan. Ryan is a progressive thought leader focused on providing for his agents and staff at DeApril Properties. His strengths are his motivational skills, his coaching style, and his dedication to training. Now, he has 14 offices throughout Chicagoland. Also, he has offices in Wisconsin, Indiana, and Michigan with hundreds and hundreds of top producing agents. DeApril Properties is a coaching company with 8 strategic coaches who work week in and week out with every agent, individually focused on business planning, coaching, and accountability. Now, if you'd like to take your career to the next level, or if you're just not getting the attention you need, check out DeApril Properties. Visit DeAprilProperties.com. Welcome, Ryan. And in addition to Ryan, before we get to Ryan, I also want to welcome Lindsey Miller to the show. Lindsey works at DeApril Properties as well. She and Ryan work very closely in crafting a lot of the curriculum, the coaching, and they are basically partners in crime. So we're super excited to have both Lindsey and Ryan on the show today. Thanks, guys. Welcome.
Thanks for having us. Welcome, Lindsey.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, DJ. I'm so happy to be here.
And I think, Lindsey, I think this is the first time you've been on the show. Unless I'm misremembering, it's possible. But
no,
I think this is the first time.
Yeah, you're right. It's the first time. I'm really, really excited. A little nervous because I'm usually a behind the scenes person, but I am really excited. I love your show.
Oh, thank you. Well, Ryan,
I sprung it on Lindsey, DJ. I sprung it on her this morning. It's a good.
Yeah, we're excited. The more the merrier. And I know she provides a tremendous amount of value to your organization, which provides a tremendous amount of value to the agents that are involved. And I'll even tell everyone listening, my girlfriend is likely going to join Ryan's company. She is a new agent, and she looked at a lot of different firms trying to figure out what was the best fit with her particular skill set. And she's 99% sure it's going to be Ryan's. So I probably shouldn't say that in case she doesn't join, but I'm 99% sure she will. And she was absolutely the most impressed with Ryan's company. So if you're an agent in the Chicagoland area, or Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, and you're looking for a firm that really helps you with, I think, the hardest part of being an agent, which is a lot of the marketing and the coaching, that's what they offer, and it's kind of their niche, and they're actually obviously very successful as a result. So anyway, welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Sure.
So what we thought, DJ, we would talk about today, I'm at home if you can't hear my dog barking in the background, sorry about that, is accountability and doing the things that you need to do that are necessary to make your business a success. I was speaking with an agent the other day, and he quoted somebody, and he wasn't certain who it was. He thought maybe it was Michael Phelps. But he said the difference, Michael Phelps or whoever said this quote, is the difference between somebody who is excellent and somebody who is mediocre is the person who is excellent is willing to do the mundane day in and day out.
Yeah.
And as you were introducing us in the organization, you said a coaching company that focuses on, or a company that focuses on coaching. And in other words, you said accountability. And I called Lindsey this morning, and I said, hey, help me think this through. And it was about 9 this morning. I had 2 coaching calls. One started at 7 in the morning, and then another one started at 8. At 9 o'clock, I had a window, and I called Lindsey, and I said, hey, help me. And I knew where I was going. So I called my accountability partner. I said, help me think this through. I just don't feel like doing a podcast today.
Sure.
I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, and that I'm not adding value. And that's when Lindsey chimed in, right, Linz?
I did. I was like, okay, why don't you talk about that today instead? Because you absolutely do add value. And I guarantee you there are so many people who would benefit from hearing that even the things that you love to do, sometimes you just don't feel like you're able to bring it for that day for whatever reason. And so you consider stepping back and not doing it when really you need to like push in harder at that point. So
And right when you said that, I started getting excited and my blood started flowing, DJ. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is what we're talking about, because this is what we all struggle with. You know, I'm a human. We are all the same. We all have these issues, and to be successful, you got to. And DJ, by the way, I'm not calling your podcast mundane. I'm talking about the live flow we discussed
Sure.
about being in flow with your network, that day in and day out. You know, be it 10 contacts or 24 contacts a day, it gets mundane. And Lindsey, you said something. You said at least you're being honest. Did you say honest with yourself?
Yeah, because the first thing you have to do is own it and recognize, like, okay, why am I feeling this way? And for you, it was like, am I bringing value? And I would argue for most people, that's the question, right? It's like,
Mhm.
When you're talking life flow, that's the number one thing that we hear, right? It's like, hey,
Yeah.
what do I say every single time? They're going to get sick of hearing from me. I'm not able to bring value to them. And you're like, yeah, you are. You're crazy. They would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the owning it part that Lindsey had brought up is it's all about habits, and so that's in our coaching. We want people. We're not focused on the results. We're focused on the activities. What we
Yeah.
really want is this to be habitual for you. And so I was able to call Lindsey because I was able to protect myself. I have somebody. I have my rock that I go and I lean on. And I said, hey, let me tell you how I'm feeling. And I know damn well she wasn't going to let me off the hook. But I owned it, like Lindsey said. I owned it, and even though I didn't recognize it, she said, at least you're owning it, and you know what you're doing, and let's talk it through. And within 5 minutes, I was charged up and kept looking at my watch, like, when's 11 o'clock going to start? When's 11 o'clock going to start? Because I want to get in front of the viewers. I want to tell them, hey, it is the mundane to be excellent. Okay, to have that outstanding career. It's not home runs, it's base hits every day, day in and day out. It's doing it when you are busy as well. So, like, DJ, I got a lot going on. And I have 4 different organizations. We built an entrepreneur operating system, which is a technology we've launched that other real estate agents and other companies are using. We have a mortgage company, which is also, we coach loan officers. We have a title company, we have a real estate company. It's all a coaching organization. I've got a lot going on, but you want something, it's critically important that I meet with you. It's
Yeah.
critically important that I continue doing the things day in and day out that provide the snowball effect, the compound effect, all these things that all these great authors and students of success have studied and have taught us through, ebooks or books or podcasts. I want to applaud anybody who is listening to this right now, who's thoroughly in engaged in listening to this. I would applaud you because you're taking the efforts to improve yourself, and that's what it's all about. The real estate industry failure rate is tremendously high because you are essentially starting your own business. You do need to be with an organization that partners with you, because it doesn't have to be a solo sport. It shouldn't be a solo sport. It's a lonely world if you want to be a lone wolf out there. But you need to have that accountability and that structure to keep you on path to doing those mundane things. I'm
I
going to
want
go
to I
down.
want to pause. I want to pause for a second, because really what you're talking about in prior, earlier was about support. And when I don't mean support, I need help with this deal. Hey, brokerage firm, help me with knowing what paperwork to fill out. And I have a question that my client asked and I don't know the answer. We're talking about, Ryan talked and Lindsey were talking about habits. And we all know there's habits that will propel our business forward, and then there's habits that will stifle our business. And the habits that are really going to take us to the next level are going to be challenging. And every day, you're not always going to wake up full of vim and vigor to accomplish a difficult, hard, consistent, maybe mundane sort of task, right? Like those are just, it's that old Zen saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
Right.
You have to chop wood, carry water. And that isn't always fun. I interviewed a gentleman on the podcast a few weeks ago. He's one of the biggest agents in the entire country, and he works out 4 days a week or 5 days a week at 5 a.m. And I said, "Oh my God, you must love working out." And he's like, "No, well, who loves working out?" He goes, "It's the hardest thing. I hate it." He goes, "But so I was really like," and he's like this big muscular guy, and I thought, oh well, if he hates it, I feel a little bit better about not loving working out as well, but I still should do it. And so what you talked about is, hey, you got up this morning, you've got a lot of other stuff on your plate, you've got 4 organizations to run, hundreds of agents to help, and you're doing this podcast as a favor really to us and our listeners. And it doesn't always make, sort of the most exciting part of anyone's day. Believe me, I'm the host of this podcast. I deal with this all the time. For me, what's nice is every so often a listener will write in and say, "Hey, this really helps me." So that helps. I try to keep that in mind when my tank is on empty. But what's great is also having another person. So you have Lindsey to be able to say, "Hey, I am doing this. I'm committed to this thing. I don't really feel like doing it right now, so I need some support and some help. Here's what I'm actually feeling, and can you help me with that?" This is so important for our listeners to understand that every day you're going to wake up and you're running a real estate business. Boy, you have to run every part of that business or most parts of it yourself. That is difficult. And there's parts of it that you're going to love doing. And there's going to be parts that some days are really tough. Having an accountability partner, and I don't mean somebody that punishes you for not getting things done, but somebody you can call and say, "I'm struggling right now. I don't want to make my phone calls, or I don't want to, follow up with this particular client. And I just want to be honest about it." And that's kind of what you guys did. And then you talked through it, and you said it left you within a few minutes, because I think part of it is you were honest about it and said, "This is what I'm experiencing." And it's okay to experience a little bit of discomfort.
No, it absolutely is. And that's our culture. And one of our core values is develop yourself and others. So I want to circle back to you. You said, "I'm doing you a favor." I'm absolutely not doing a favor. You're doing me a favor by allowing me on here, because the reason we say develop yourself and others is to learn, then you need to teach.
Yeah.
So let me say that to teach is to learn. So every time I'm teaching somebody, like I'm on here with you guys right now, I'm learning. And one of the best things I feel about our culture and coaching, and the coaching culture for those of individuals that are not in coaching, that don't have coaching, is we say you have to embrace it. What we mean by embrace it, you got to be vulnerable. You have to pick up the phone and say, "Lindsey, this is how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Talk me through it." And there are so many individuals, and I feel bad for them that they don't allow it of themselves. They don't allow others into their lives to help them and hold them accountable and just be honest. And I've said to Lindsey many times, "Where would I be without you? And how would I get along without you?" But I also know, on the flip side, through her telling me, I provide significance in her life. I am somebody that she knows I'm her, she's my rock. Well, that's important to her. So it's that giver's gain mentality. It's to teach is to learn. And I tell you, people, it's a beautiful thing. And it's a cool chemistry. If you open yourself up to it, the people will appear that will be there to help you and encourage you. I always tell everybody when we coach them, we're not bringing you in here to say, "Tisk, tisk, you didn't do the task we told you to do." It's, "Okay, you didn't do the task we told you to do. No problem. Let's talk it through. Why don't we do it today? Okay, great. What are you going to do tomorrow and the next day and the next day? Let's visualize it. Let's meditate on it. Let's take a moment. Let's plan. All right, see you in a week." And we know we're not going to get 100%, but we know we're going to be better than what we did the week before. And we all have our dark corners in the world, and we all climb in a hole. It's human nature. It's the important thing is raise your hand up and say, "Hey, I'm in this hole. Can somebody come pull me out of this? I'm creating this inside my head." And I think that's the most important and valuable tool or thing to coaching, is that other human being on the other end who's not in the weeds, that's looking at your business, and to be like, "Hey, look over here, look it over there. And by the way, yeah, it's this mundane day-to-day activity that if you continually do it day in and day out, your life will become a lot easier, because it's going to pay huge dividends, because it's going to create that compound effect, because it is the little things that get you ahead. It's not the home runs." So
Yeah, it's singles and doubles all day long. And the hard part is the good news is you don't have to swing for the fences. You don't have to swing for that home run every day. You can build a really amazing career with singles and doubles. But what you're in order to get those singles and doubles, it's just a consistent amount of daily activity, and a lot of it you're just not going to want to do. It's just how it is, and it's okay to admit that, because all of us are imperfect. All of us struggle. I woke up this morning, it was dark outside, or darkish. It's been dark most of this week here in Chicago, and there was one day this week where I'm like, I don't want to go to work, and I knew I had to because I didn't have a choice. But because I knew I would go to work, I allowed myself to feel that I didn't want to, instead of denying it and saying, well, you should feel so lucky to have a job, and you shouldn't ever feel like you don't want to go contribute, and you make a diff. I just said, no, okay, I know all of that, but today I just don't want to do it. And I allowed myself to feel it. And then, like Ryan was saying, he shared it with his with Lindsey, and they were able to talk through it and resolve it. And in a way, then he was able to move forward. And I had the same thing. I called my girlfriend and I said, I don't think I want to go to work today. And she goes, okay, well, tell me about it. She didn't say, well, you need to go to work and you have to. She just said, we'll talk about it. And I did. And then I got it out of me. And if everyone should have a support system in place, whether it's
Right. And a release.
brokerage or your friends or your family, you have to be able to tell the truth to people in your life. And that will help you get beyond these normal everyday challenges that every single one of us faces. I don't want to floss my teeth every evening, and I just don't want to do that. But it's a good habit to cultivate. So I have to figure out what gets in the way. I mean, I actually do floss my teeth every night, but there was many years where I didn't. And so I had to finally get to a point where I just had perfect, like very fortunate teeth my whole life. So I didn't have to do that. All of a sudden I was like, oh, this is going to be a bad thing for me if I don't do it. So I had to figure out how to create the discipline in my life, and it wasn't easy. And I've gotten support. I have somebody who calls me every morning. This is not a joke. And she asks me, even though it's been years since I have missed flossing my teeth, she calls me at 7:30 in the morning. She asks me 15 questions, and one of them is, did you remember to floss your teeth last night? And I pay her to do that. And that is what I need to do to stay on top of my daily activities. I have an accountability partner who asks me if I clean the cat's litter box, things like that, because that's what I need.
Well, and with that, let's circle down to what we as real estate professionals need to be accountable to.
Yeah.
What's that number one thing? What's that one thing that is going to separate you from your former self? Who's going to help you improve and achieve more? And I always say it comes back to your network.
Yeah.
And that your network is your net worth. And what we tend to do is we tend to get into the busy work. I got to do the busy work. I got to put the lockbox on the door. I got to put in the MLS. I got to get the pictures. I got to organize the picture. I got to meet the photographer. I get the video and all of those things. I got to post it on social media, and all of that is important. All of that is important. But none of that matters if you don't have a network. And you can start in this business without a network. It will take longer to get going, but you absolutely can start in the business without a network. But your job for the first 2 years is going to be creating a network. It's not going to be selling homes. And, I think about getting your real estate license. I think about getting your mortgage license. Think about getting even your law degree. I mean, all this stuff is not complicated. It's law school is, I mean, I don't think really you need the 4-year undergrad degree, though you do, but it's not necessary to go to a 2-year law school to get your law degree. But you could go to the best law school out there. But if you don't have a network to generate the business, you're going to be working for the person who does. Yeah. That's how it works out in life. There are those that can generate the business, and then there are those that can do the business. In real estate, in most cases, you are the same person. So you have to have that split personality. And I'm telling you, 80% should be focused on generating the business. 20% should be doing the business. Getting your real estate license does not mean you're going to be successful in real estate. It's just a hurdle you have to jump, and it goes in the past. And now you got to get down to the mundane, what is mundane to most people, and it's being engaged with your network.
And how lucky are we that this is an industry where we can, pretty most people can pretty readily get a license if they take the classes and study, and it's a not insurmountable exam, although it's not easy, but it's doable. And how cool is it that once you get your license, the vast majority of buyers and sellers go, who do we know who's a realtor? When they need a realtor, they just think, who do we know? So how cool is it that in this industry, your network, as Ryan is fond of saying, your network is your net worth, because that's where the vast majority of business is going to come from. And then of course, adding to that, but most industries, if you're in a sales type position, it does not work that way. You can't just go to your friends and family, hey, who needs to buy an air compressor for, a commercial building, because nobody's going to be in that industry. And you are cold calling and you are starting in a much more difficult position. Whereas the vast majority of the people are going to need a realtor at some point in their life, and they're going to want to choose somebody that they like and trust. Why isn't it? Why couldn't that be you? So you have this really impressive, there's not many industries where it works like that. So you're really fortunate. So if you're not spending time cultivating and nurturing that list and making sure you know everything about every one of your contacts and putting it in a database and having a daily routine, then you're really missing out. As Ryan says, 16% of the people are going to need a realtor in the next 12 months. So the question is, how do you get more of those transactions? We're always looking for, I don't know enough people. I don't know enough leads. Well, you actually probably know a lot, and you still should add to your database. But the people you already know, there's a lot of business there, and cultivating and nurturing those relationships is what wins the game. And almost everyone I've ever interviewed on this podcast, top 1% producers, say the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you, one of the purposes of me coming on to this podcast, and I'm grateful for you allowing me to come here, is to elevate our industry. I love our business and I love our industry. So I feel a responsibility to elevate our industry. So I'm going to comment to tell everybody here listening, remember, the number one value you add is emotional intelligence to the transaction. You might not have the best emotional intelligence, but I'm telling you, that's your product, people. And whether you're a real estate agent or you're a loan officer, and I work with both of these individuals, right? I have loan originators that work at our company, and I have real estate agents. And, there have been businesses that have tried to disrupt our industry by taking out the person. And then I see real estate agents get very frustrated, and I see loan officers get very frustrated with the emotional intelligence that they have to provide to the transaction. Right. Folks, if you can't provide that, then those disruptors will be able to take us out, because it's the human emotional connection that the consumer is looking for. I was having a conversation with one of our loan originators. I was coaching a loan officer, and we let me tell you something about what's going on in the mortgage industry right now, DJ. You might know about it, but it's a shit show, to say the least.
And rates just went down again a couple days ago.
And so then why do I say it's a shit show? Because everybody is refinancing right now. That's wonderful. But there's a lot of people in the food chain, right? There's the investors, there's the aggregators, there's everything that goes on. And so there is all of a sudden a huge flush of business coming in. So there's something called non-QM. And non-QM are those unique loans that really make up 2% of the mortgage industry. Today, they're less than 0.5%, because originators are saying no more than they ever have, because right now you're just shooting fish in the barrel.
Right.
Everybody, their buyers are out there, the refinances are out there. It is a great time and a fairly easy time to be generating business as a loan originator. And when I do my coaching, my originators, I'm saying, please keep thinking about 2022.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing $30 million in volume this year, you're probably a $15 million producer. And if you're doing a $15 million, you might be a $7 million producer. So let's look at the R's versus the P's. R's are refinance versus the P's.
Sure.
And I say, so you got to think about this. But start going back to the point that I wanted to make. Right. So we have these disruptors, right? Let's just say Redfin, right? Where you don't really need an agent. Sure. You don't need to compensate them. And they lose hundreds of millions of dollars a year. They're only backed artificially by being owned by TD Waterhouse and Goldman Sachs, and they're publicly traded. But the company, they say their revenue's up, but if you continue to look at their losses, over a decade, this company has probably lost $1 billion of investors' income. And they've actually been a great lead source for us as real estate companies, because they show to the consumer out there, you want somebody to talk to you, you want a shoulder to cry on, you want somebody to facilitate the transaction. Wonderful. Well, let's go to the mortgage lending industry. Exact same thing. So there's this thing called a Rocket Mortgage, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, what is Rocket Mortgage? Well, Rocket Mortgage, or any digital mortgage platform, is basically cutting out the loan originator, and it's having a billboard, and the basis points a loan originator is paid to originate a loan, which is generate a lead, is not there because the consumer goes to a billboard that takes them, they see a billboard, takes them to a website, and they log on and they do the stuff. Now, the experience the borrower has is identical, because behind the origination aspect of it is the opener, the processor, the closer, the underwriter. There is probably 4 to 5 people working on every loan, and that is not going anywhere. It is a human business. And I was coaching one of the loan originators. I'm like, you have to be the most emotionally intelligent person in the transaction to set expectations, and not to be afraid to tell the listing agent and the buyer's agent and the buyer and the borrower and the seller, all that are involved, that, hey, it might not close this week, but it is closing next week. But I'm going to be honest, it's not closing this week. And when you get pushback on it, okay, that's why we're being paid. Because otherwise you could just go to a website, put in some data. The processors aren't going anywhere. The underwriters aren't going anywhere. The people, there is no such thing as a digital experience. There's no such thing. There's a digital acquisition of your business. But for me, when I'm doing a mortgage or I'm buying a house, I'd rather, and I'm going to be paying the same amount of money, I'd rather have a human being there that I could call and talk things through versus a 1-800 number. It goes to the exact same thing in the travel industry. 3 years ago, we flew down to Mexico with a group of friends, and I have a travel agent, and she's in downtown where I live. And she booked a trip and everything else. And another friend of mine did Expedia. And it was a tragic moment what happened with us on our way down there. Our friend's uncle had passed away suddenly. And they needed to get home soon.
Right.
And their airfare and their hotel, we all stayed at the same place. We all flew the same airline, all cost the same amount of money. But when we wanted to get home earlier, I called my travel agent, Andy Sarno. And my friend had to call 1-800 Expedia and be on hold for 3 hours. And so Andy has to be there. She does her running around. She gets it done for me, where there is no originator, be it real estate originator, loan originator, or travel agent originator, to deal with it. And so Andy had to take my phone call, work with me for an hour, reschedule, and give me an experience. But I refer her, I use her over and over again. And this is, now I got to bring it back. I got to bring this all the way back to what we do. We're going to have clients crying. We're going to have clients screaming. We're going to have all this. We're like, oh my God, well, guys, that's what we do. It's emotional intelligence. And now they're only going to use people that they know, like, and trust. So I hope I could tie this up in a nice little bow for you to understand. This is why you need to be consistently in touch with your network, month in and month out. If you have 200 people in your network, there's 20 working days a month, Monday through Friday. 200 divided by 20 is 10. 10 contacts, social media, Facebook, not posts, direct message, text message, phone call, how you doing, will ensure that I'm in touch with DJ once every month for 12 months. And 16% of those people transact every year. They're going to want somebody that they know, like, and trust. That's my job. That's how I generate this business. That's how I'm successful in this business.
Yeah, it's a customer service job, and we all need to realize that it's not sales. The homes largely, I mean, there is a sales component, of course, but this is for many people, this is their largest financial purchase in their entire life, outside of retirement, right? This or children's education. It's home, retirement, children's education. Those are the 3 big ones. And all of us get emotional. I will share my lending story just very briefly. So I have a friend that is a lender. So I decided to go with him because I know he's quite good. And I'm in the process.
And he's a friend.
And he is one of my close friends. Yes.
And that's why you chose him.
That's why I chose him. And I knew he's extremely competent as well. But yes, so
but
those
making
2
the
things.
Point to the listeners, right?
You're absolutely right. Yep. I chose him because he was my friend. No question. But I thought, I should get a couple backup quotes because who knows, maybe his company won't accept me for some reason, or this is for me a very large loan. So I thought I should maybe just compare rates and make sure I'm not, getting a bad deal. So I said, I'm going to go out and get a couple of backup quotes. So I went to two online places like you were mentioning, not the one you mentioned, but others, and actually very reputable institutions. But I just went on their website and I filled out the form. Well, both of the in-house people they have called me back pretty quickly because it's probably a loan that they would want. And we went through everything. Both of those people completely fell off the face of the earth after approving me within about 2 or 3 days. I've never heard from them since. This is a loan I would think most loan officers would want to have. And yet the relationship I had with my friend, and what he did is after we were squared away with him, this is the original person I went with my friend, he said, I'm going to call you and I want to educate you. It's going to take about 30 minutes. Now, this is not my first home purchase, by the way. He's like, I want to educate you on exactly what's going on in the market right now with rates. And I want to explain the process. And I want to make sure you fully understand what the steps are along the way. And I was like, this is why this guy is one of the top agents, or one of the top loan officers.
Any chance that he'd say, be prepared. It's a lot of business out there, so things are moving slowly.
Yes.
And that's why that's an excellent loan originator. Yep. That's why it's an excellent loan originator. He's able to say, hey, get ready for a shit show.
Yep.
Because that's essentially what's going on. I mean, it's not all a shit show, but it's all the same. I bet you the rates were were probably identical to the rates that he quoted as well.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. So what it is, it's the let's say the owner of the company shifting their cost of acquisition of DJ from an online thing to originator.
Yeah.
I will take the human all day long. I will take the human all day long versus the billboard to the website, which then you have to do the work anyways, but there's nobody that cares. And the cost savings, there's no cost savings to the consumer. Right. There isn't. There is a lack of experience, emotional intelligence, and that's why they have not been able to really, after 20 years, penetrate much market share because it's such an emotionally driven life in general, let alone business.
I interviewed one of the top producers here in Chicago a few years ago, or within the last year, I can't remember. And I asked her, we have 44,000 agents in Chicago. So this is somebody who is in the top, not just 1%, literally in the top 10 top producers. And I said, you're obviously very good at your job, but if you had to say, is there one thing that you do that you think makes the difference? And I expected her to say something like, well, I really know more about design, or I can just walk into a home and I sort of understand the value just by looking with all the experience. You've been doing this 20 years. And I expected more of an experience answer, right? Like, I just know more than the average person, and that's why I'm so successful. That's what I would have guessed. And she said something very different. She goes, this is going to sound really dumb. She goes, but I swear it's the main reason why I'm successful and maybe other people aren't. She goes, I call every single client I have at least 1 to 2 times a week and just let them know what's going on. And I said, and she goes, that's pretty much it. And I said, well, really? And she goes, yeah, because she goes, DJ, the bar is set so low that most agents don't even do that. We avoid our clients when we don't have any good news, or maybe we have bad news, or we have no news. And she
said,
to
deliver bad news. That's why we're getting paid. Deliver the bad news.
That's right.
Sorry for cutting you off, DJ.
No, that's it. I was just going to say, if everyone listening just realizes customer service, this is all about emotional. It's not even just customer service. It's emotional customer service. And if you can provide emotional support on a consistent basis to everyone in your database, you will get more referrals than you know what to do with. If you can just be there to be supportive through it, because boy, what's more emotional than buying a home or selling a home? It's about the most, as far as stress on the psychological scale, the most stressful activities there is. Moving is right up there at the very top near really awful, tragic events in someone's life. Moving is as stressful or just underneath some of those really terrible things that happen. And moving is supposed to be this joyous, wonderful thing, but it is beyond stressful. So yeah, being emotionally supportive to your clients is everything.
Yes. And then to wrap it up, I guess, and guys, come full circle, and why we have the amazing Lindsey Miller on the call with us is you got to do the mundane. You don't feel like it. You got to call your coach. You got to call your accountability partner. You have to own it. And then finally, just one other thing from some reading I've been doing this week, a book that Lindsey suggested to me. listening, I'm just going to leave this with quote, listening is an activity. It's not a passive thing. It's one of the hardest things for us to do in this business, but listening is an activity. It's not passive. And it's a skill set that most of us just basically suck at.
Yeah.
And we have to get really better at listening. And then finally, I watched a movie with my girls 2 nights ago. I have 3 daughters, as you know. And it was The Secret Dare to Dream. Have you seen it?
No.
Have you seen it, Lindsay? It's like one of those Hallmark movies, feel good, law of attraction, cute movies. But
Sure.
for all the listeners out there, I want you to hear this. It was a great lesson. I want all my girls to watch the movie. And so we sat down and watched it. You get out of life what you expect from it.
Yeah.
You get out of life what you expect from it. We should be grateful for every day that we have here because we don't know what's going to happen, and make the most out of it and expect the best out of it, because you're going to get what you expect out of life. And I think I want to leave everybody with that. Just really do the best to be in a positive mindset, expect the best out of things, and you will get the best out of life.
Yeah, well said. Mindset. We need to protect and nurture our mindset to create and cultivate that sort of those feelings that will help us get through the hard, difficult daily tasks that we all have to do. And the reward, though, is so great. I'm about to head to a personal trainer, and it is going to suck, and I'm going to hate it while I'm doing it because it's that hard. She pushes me to exhaustion with every muscle group that we focus on, and it is difficult. And I am just not somebody who is naturally wired to want to do that. I do not want to do that. But at the end of the hour, I will be, not only will I feel good because I'll have some endorphins running through, which is a nice byproduct of that physical exercise, but I will be proud of myself. And that's the most important thing. And then that will carry me through the rest of my day. So find esteem building activities, even if it's just, I didn't make my bed yesterday. I feel better when I make my best. Make your bed. It makes you feel better. So think about those esteem building activities, small little things. It doesn't have to be big sweeping home runs. It could be, hey, I made my bed today. That made me feel good. Doing that then obviously goes out to other areas of your life. So anyway, what a fun podcast today. I loved it. And Lindsey, thank you for your contribution in being Ryan's support system and being each other's support system, which I think is really, really important. And thank you guys both for being on the show. I want to remind everyone too, that if you're in the Chicagoland area or Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, and you're looking for another firm, maybe you're at a firm and you're not getting the attention you need, or maybe you just want to see what other options exist. D'April Properties is a huge recommendation of ours. My girlfriend's probably going to join. So she's not joining our firm, so I'm trying not to be offended about that, but no, I'm kidding. But she actually went, nope, Ryan's company is a better fit for her. And we couldn't be more proud to encourage all of our listeners who are in those areas to explore D'April Properties. And that's not why Ryan does this. He never asks me to do that, but I'm going to do it because I think his company is really excellent. So feel free to explore that at d'aprilproperties.com. Ryan and Lindsey, thank you again. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate you coming on the show. Ryan comes on every month. Lindsey, hopefully can come on more often, which we'd love to have.
We'll make that happen.
On behalf of the audience, we want to say thank you to you guys for the content that you bring. It's really so well received, and I probably should do a better job of sharing the feedback with you so that you can see just what an impact consistently you make with your contributions, because we get that feedback. So I'll make sure to start sending that over to you. And also on behalf of our listeners, we want to thank you because you're the reason we do this. This wouldn't exist in a vacuum. If we didn't have people listening and watching the show, we just wouldn't be doing it. So we're so grateful that you find help or use in the content we provide. Please tell a friend. Think of one other real estate professional, or if you're in the mortgage industry, another LO, another loan officer, a loan originator, and who could benefit from hearing this particular episode, and send them a link to the show. You can always follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/keepingitrealpod, and find us on our website, every episode we've ever done. And by the way, let's say that our website, by the way, is keepingitrealpod.com. And I just recently rebuilt it. And here's here's a cool feature that I added to it. So if you needed a little coaching moment, all of Ryan's episodes are at the bottom in a category called coaching moments, and you can literally just listen to them one by one. You don't have to search through all of the 200 plus episodes we've done. So every single category of episode that we create is on that website. So you can go back, and if you need that little coaching inspiration, you can go back to a previous coaching moment episode as well. So guys, thank you so much. I'll let you both get on with your busy day. And I'm going to head to the gym and be tortured for the next hour, but I'm going to feel good at the end. So it's worth it.
Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, guys.